AM 1220, KHTS, hometownstation.com. You're listening to Dr. Proctor every Thursday, noon to 1, an opportunity for us to peek over the shoulders of the medical professionals to see what it is they're up to and help us have conversations with our physicians and our medical professionals so that we become better advocates for our own health and the people that we love. Today, I'm here with Dr. Sai Hassan, who's here from He's a pediatric adult endocrinologist. He's from the Newhall area. He has a practice on Peachland. If you would like to learn more, you can pop over and to their website, which is ca.pegilbert.com. In the event that you hear something today that you feel you should reach out to a medical professional, endocrinologist is one of the doctors that helps us with things like menopause and andropause. And andropause is an age-related hormone change that takes place in men, and yes, sometimes it's been referred to as male menopause. It's also been called testosterone deficiency syndrome, androgen deficiency, and late onset male hypogonadism. And andropause differs in some respects to the hormonal changes that women experience, mainly in that hormonal decrease in females can occur over a very short period of time, and for men, this decline can happen over many years because testosterone levels gradually decline through the adult years at a rate of 1% a year after the age of 30. So, Dr. Hassan, walk me through a little bit of this. Just as menopause is inevitable for the woman as she ages, is something like andropause inevitable in men? It's something that happens over a period of time, and the symptoms, is it very similar in that not every woman experiences every symptom of menopause? Would that be true for men in andropause?
That's absolutely right, and because of the silver tsunami that you mentioned earlier, all men will ultimately have some degree of testosterone loss. And in women, the drop-off is dramatic. We call it the climacteric, and it's like a fruit ripening, and you get to a certain point, and then beyond that, then the fruit is inedible. So the same thing. But
it can be made into jam. I'm going to correct you.
There you go. Of course. Of course. So in men, that process is just slower.
Right.
And it's a little bit harder to notice. So there's not a specific age. Like in women, when it is 51, that's the average age. But men can be anywhere from 50 to 70.
Right. Now, some of the things that come with andropause that a man may or may not experience, they too can go through like the emotional changes, and that can be is in their motivation. It can be a sadness or just full-on depression, their self-confidence. They can also have concentration and memory issues from this drop, increased body fat, reduced muscle bulk and strength. Oh, I'm starting to see a trend here where we should all be eating together and working out together. A loss of body hair, changes in sleep pattern, just like a woman goes through with a man. It could be insomnia or even increased sleepiness. You can get gynecomastia, changes in sexual function. These signs and symptoms can also, I think, has to be addressed. They might not just be decreased testosterone. It can also be caused from things like medications, thyroid problems, depression, and substance abuse.
All those things have to be considered, and somebody can come in and have one of the other problems. So that's why we tend to take a look we cast a broad net and take a look at thyroid and take a look at the hormones that would be a marker for male menopause. And then we ask, frankly, are people eating right, exercising correctly?
And learning a little bit about their lifestyle. But a blood test that's definitive. You can't fake the blood test. It's going to come back and say, yes, they're showing decreases?
As you mentioned, it's not as dramatic in men as it is in women. Right. If you look at the range of testosterone, it's anywhere from 200 to 1,000. So that's a very broad range. And
then every man, I would imagine, also is either affected differently also with those numbers. I would think that range would be huge too.
Exactly. And not everybody who's got a level of, say, 200 is going to feel as badly as
They
somebody
may
else.
function differently.
Exactly. So the response is very different. Some people just work their way through it. Some people don't pay attention to it. It's a good idea, again, to just be aware of one's body, to read about the aging process, not just assume that everything you're experiencing is part of aging. That might be something that can be taken care of through your visit with your doctor.
Now, with women, when we talked about menopause and the complications that come with it, when we start talking about cardiovascular disease and osteoporosis and those various things, what are the complications that besides, the annoyances that come with maybe a testosterone loss? Because some of those, whether it's sexual function or sleep pattern, things like that, are there any grave complications that come from decreased testosterone levels?
The thing that men are at risk for is worsening bone disease.
So bones become an issue also with that.
Bones become an issue, and it really depends on how long the person has had low levels
Right.
of the hormones, and having obesity or not eating well or not exercising, having a family history of bone disease, all of that can add up. So each person is different, but that's one
Something
of
to
the...
consider that you can have some complications from that. Now, with regards to menopause, we can't really prevent it. Is there anything men can do starting when they're younger to kind of delay that decrease? Is this going to be related back to also like diet and exercise for a man?
That's exactly right. So some of the changes that happen because of low testosterone, like bone disease, like heart disease, like having difficulty sleeping, that's all related to our level of exercise, how we're eating, our stress. People sort of just assume that the stress you're dealing with is it can't be changed.
Right.
So we have to address that also. And I think people do it on their own, but with the help of a medical professional, you can make those changes.
Now, just as with women, hormone replacement therapy is something that is discussed when women are entering into either, perimenopause. And with men, testosterone replacement therapy is controversial because the benefits aren't, are they clear, or are there possible risks from that too? If
there are risks, you have to get evaluated. You take a look at testosterone. If a low end of normal is 200, and if somebody has a level of 50, that's quite dramatic. So that kind of individual, that person's going to get started on testosterone therapy.
Now, what would cause a dramatic drop like that? Is there anything in particular since the decrease, is there a reason why you would say, all right, at this marker, we're gonna do that?
Well, it turns out that all the body's hormones are impacted by environmental factors. So unfortunately, when we had the financial market crash in 2007, guess what? I saw a lot of men with low testosterone and come to my office.
So stress is a killer.
Stress
we
can
hear
be
it all the
bad.
time. Stress is bad.
Stress is bad.
So stress management becomes critical. And not to beat that horse in the race, but this is back to your exercise and your health, the way you're eating.
The way you're eating and living holistically, and keeping an open mind to things, and being able to make changes, because ultimately our health is the most important thing.
I've joked sometimes here that stress levels behind the microphone and in the building can be bad, and I've asked why there's no therapist couch or punching bag, because gosh, that would help a lot. So yeah, that stress management, that'll get you. Well, there are things, just like there are things to be done to relieve the symptoms and the issues that women deal with menopause. There are things to be done to relieve the symptoms of andropause, and everything I read, just what you're saying, Dr. Hassan, is that maintaining a healthy diet, increasing physical activity to maintain strength, energy, and muscle tone. Because if you are if your testosterone levels are decreasing, and it's going to happen naturally, you can kind of counteract a little bit of that with that weight training and with that exercise, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's great to see people at the gym. I joke with the patients, hey, I'm going to see you at the gym, aren't I?
Ah, so that's part of their prescription.
That is. And I'm looking out for that, too. So you go to the gym, and I love it when I see a 70-year-old woman or 70-year-old man out there on the treadmill trying to do whatever they can.
70 is the new 40, Dr. Hassan. I hear it all the time. And the idea that, just increasing your activity level a little beyond what you're already doing. It doesn't have to be the phone call to the gym, get the membership, get the personal trainer, because for a lot of people that's a hardship too financially. But even if they get out and they walk and they start, making an effort, you don't have to get weaker as you get older. You can pick up things, and you can, increase your endurance and the things that you might not have yet. It's drops in a bucket, right?
Yeah, exactly. Any kind of movement is going to help your entire skeleton. For example, osteoporosis. If you for some reason you have a broken foot, let's say, well, you can still lift weights, even if they're small weights, and do your upper body exercise. And guess what? That's going to help with your hips, even though you're doing only upper body. Mm-hmm. Bone disease can be prevented by exercise throughout the body.
I've heard wonderful stories of people who didn't have the money to go out to get weights, and they just found things that they could start picking up. And you could probably go to just about any thrift store, someone else who's given up, and get a set of weights, even if it's mismatched, and get started doing something. Something is better than nothing. So again, healthy diet, increasing your physical activity to help maintain your strength, your energy, and your muscle mass. This all helps to improve mood, promotes better sleep. And then a lot of times I think with Andropause, when we're talking about the drop in testosterone and the things that come along with, again, the beginning symptoms, they talked about emotional changes or things like their motivation, sadness, depression, self-confidence, it's critically important to seek help for those emotional issues as a man. I think a lot of times they're not encouraged to do that, but that's also important with Andropause.
Yeah, that is important. And I talk about it. It's not something that people are ready to discuss at the first visit. So sometimes for me, it
takes a couple of times.
Takes a couple of visits, and I encourage people to bring in their spouse. I love it when people come with somebody, even a friend or a caretaker.
A second set of ears is I think so critically important to our health and well-being, because we'll miss things or we'll fixate on one thing and miss the others. I think a second set of ears is really important when you see your physician.
Absolutely.
Depression is one of these things that can lead to, it's funny because in all that I've read, I've always associated like a high level of testosterone with aggression or irritability, but it turns out that with Andropause, with the depression that comes sometimes from that dip in testosterone can also lead to irritability and aggression and possible self-medication. That idea that you're trying to cover that up, and that's got to be a problem for you as a physician to be able to pinpoint that.
Yeah, unfortunately, some people find ways to deal with it. Everybody's aware of prescription drugs that people go and get, and just sort of take things that really don't address the specific issue, or alcohol.
Right, because that's sometimes the easy way out, or this will take care of it for now. But when it all comes down to brass tacks, if you are experiencing any of the symptoms that are associated with Andropause, again, one of the first things you could do, besides going to your doctor and finding out, get the blood test. Is this what I'm going through? Do I have these decreased levels? Is that adding up to a lot of the concentration or memory or body fat issues, emotional changes, sleep pattern? All those different things can be addressed by that blood test. And again, I love, Dr. Hassan, that you are a big fan of the idea that starting at the basics, how you eat, and that whole idea of being active and getting out. Because even with menopause, with the bone issues, I've read article after article after article that says lifting weights. And I had a dietitian who came to speak with me, and the phrase was, you can do cardio, but you're just going to be a skinnier version of, you're not totally well health, being, but the idea that lifting the weights helps with muscle mass and bone density. I had no idea.
And you can take baby steps. A person doesn't have to be out lifting heavy weights right away and doing hours and hours every week. No, you can just
a little bit.
Start off. If you're just watching TV for hours and hours and being a couch potato, simply turning off the TV.
Turning off the TV is sometimes a good thing, but it's difficult to do. There's so many ways to view programs now, and binge television has become, I think we're going to see a lot of the couch potato-itis because, program after program, and it just reloads itself, I think.
Well, you can watch TV while you're
on the treadmill.
Exactly. You read my mind.
Yeah, you could do it while you're on a treadmill.
And you save some electricity.
There you go. And then maybe even like the little weights we talked about, sit down and do some bicep curls, do some things while you're sitting in that chair. I mean, it's not unheard of, and it's something a physical therapist would do with you if you were just recovering from an accident. You had to start with baby steps. Would that be
right? Exactly. And just doing it during the commercials, instead of what sometimes commercials they market, especially young kids, we see them just go to the refrigerator, because if you watch Saturday cartoons,
that's what
that's what the commercials tell the kids to do. So,
right.
We tell our kids, hey, here's a time you can just do sit-ups, or you could, pull on a leather weight or something to get your body moving, or just to go outside, take the trash out when commercial break happens.
Now, let me ask you a question, Dr. Hassan, a personal question. You talked about going to the gym, and you tell your clients, I'll see you there. How long have you been active at the gym? When did that start for you?
Well, I have always loved basketball, and so maybe about when we had our young kids, it was hard to get moving, and my wife sat me down one day and said, hey, you don't do anything in terms of exercise.
Physician, heal thyself.
Exactly.
And she got you out and about.
She got me out, and then luckily I ran into a good group of guys. So for about 20 years, used to play basketball, and we weren't doing weekend warrior stuff. I mean, we would be out there in Arizona heat sometimes for 3 hours every Saturday. So you had to prepare the rest of the week.
So you do what you preach. And in your field, just the simple act of becoming a doctor, that's a lot of sitting. That's a lot of books. That's a lot of computers. So I would think you would maybe even get out of the habit of being active, partly because of what you chose to do with your life.
And, everybody talks about it, but people who have high stress positions, they'll say that exercise helps them,
Yeah,
you wake up in the morning, you do exercise.
Get up, you go, and it motivates you, and again, now fights things like the symptoms of andropause and menopause. So this is I love that you practice what you prescribe. We're talking with Dr. Sai Hassan here on Dr. Proctor. We'll be back after these messages from your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. AM 1220 KHTS, hometownstation.com. You are listening to Dr. Proctor. Once a week, Thursdays, noon to 1, our chance to peek over the shoulders of the medical professionals and the medical community to see what it is they're up to, and to give us an opportunity to have conversations once we do see our medical professionals, to become better advocates for ourselves or for our loved ones and different issues they might be going through. Today I've been talking with Dr. Sai Hassan. He's a pediatric adult endocrinologist who has a practice on Peachland here in Newhall. And one of the issues we've talked about before, as an endocrinologist, he gets to follow all of what goes on, the mapping in the body, hormonally related. And today we've talked about menopause which we are quite familiar with because it is something that women have dealt with since the dawn of time, and a topic that's becoming more and more relevant to the aging population of men as the silver tsunami comes is andropause, which is also an age-related hormonal change that affects men. Now, Dr. Hassan, we know that there are multiple symptoms that come with both of these hormonal changes in men and women, some of them similar, like the emotion changes or sleep problems or increased body fat and slowed metabolism, reduced muscle bulk and strength. And we know that the complications have to do with cardiovascular and heart issues and bone issues in both men and women. And then there, as I said before, there are other symptoms, some of which are just doggone irritating, and we can talk about those quite a bit. But when it comes to tests, blood test, and when it comes to treatment, there are some things you can do medically and through treatment, through medications, etc. But again, I love that the two things that you have talked about that will help a person most with these symptoms and with issues are what?
Diet and exercise. Can't plug that enough. And a person can actually delay the onset of a lot of the symptoms if they're just in the habit before that age occurs, which is on an average 51 in women, and it can be anywhere from 50 to 70 in men. You can delay the development of all those symptoms and probably prevent a lot of the issues that happen with aging.
I love that. I'm pleased and proud to know that I grew up in a household where that was the mantra, that was what was said over and over again, that this is the key to longevity, it's the key to well-being, and the idea that we can start slowly. It doesn't have to be overnight. You don't have to empty everything out of your cupboards. You don't have to get a gym membership, but the idea that you can start slowly, eliminate some things from your diet, add some things to your activity level. So
right, taking baby steps, and sometimes it is like moving a glacier. If you're used to, being a couch potato, if you're the poster child for couch potato, then
let's get off of that and get onto this. Dr. Hassan, thank you so much for being here today on
nice
Dr.
to be
Proctor.
with you, T.
We will see you next Thursday, noon to 1. I hope you will join me. Please know that all of the podcasts are available on our hometownstation.com and our YouTube channel here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.